Hello, and welcome to Nuts About Baseball, a podcast that will entertain you with discussions involving everything baseball. I'm your host, Joe Grimme, and I appreciate you joining me. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as I share my passion for the sport we call America's pastime. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Nuts About Baseball. I'm your host, Joe Grimme, and today I have a guest that has been on here a couple times before. He's absolutely a baseball fanatic like me, but today he's going to talk more about himself and his life and his journey as he has gone through some rough patches, but he has absolutely taken those experiences and turned them around to be a positive and influential person in our community in Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati. Welcome back, Tyler Owen.
Joseph, thank you for having me back. It's like I always open with, it's not baseball weather per se outside. It might break a few fingers trying to catch a baseball today, but it's still good to be with you.
That is absolutely true. We're sitting here in December, staring outside at the snow. I still think about baseball and talk about baseball, but today we're going to talk about you. I think you've got an interesting story about all kinds of facets of your life, and I think it'll be interesting to my listeners. I'm sure a lot of them know you, and if they don't, after they hear this, they're going to want to know you because you're an outstanding individual. We'll get into it eventually as to how you and I met, but let's start way back when you growing up. You went to Newport Central Catholic, and when did you graduate?
I graduated NCC in 2007.
Okay.
Born and raised in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, and the way it is in Northern Kentucky and a lot of small communities across the country, I would imagine that you have the hometown rivalries and divides, and we were the house divided growing up between Highlands and Newport Catholic. My dad went to Highlands. My mom went to Newport Catholic's precursor for all girls, OLP. And my brother and I went to Newport Catholic, and my sister went to Highlands. And we lived that. I mean, it was the stereotypical Fort Thomas Catholic life that we lived.
How did you choose Newport Catholic yourself?
So interesting enough, I had all these. They called me a gifted child. I don't know if that's correct.
Knowing you today, I love hearing that from you.
but it was down to I did the test for Covenant Latin, which for those who don't know, you start high school in 6th grade for Covenant Latin. I did not go to Covenant Latin, and we looked at one of the cooler visits I took. We went over to St. X in Cincinnati, and we toured that, and that was an option. And throughout that process, I'm like, no, my family went to Newport Catholic. My friends are going to Newport Catholic. I have these opportunities that I could pursue, but I chose to go to the school where really a family legacy. I have my mom's side this will make me. I'm 3rd generation, and eventually I'm sure there'll be another 4th generation in the Osberg family, but that's our school.
Great. A shout out to my dad who's passed away. He went to Covington Latin, so I know what that's like. He was absolutely one of the most intelligent people I knew, and it says a lot about anyone who can finish high school 2 years early. But I'm privileged to know that I'm talking to a gifted child. I was not one, but this is great. It might be a first. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of my previous guests would like to say that they were gifted, but maybe not so much as you were termed that. So Newport Central Catholic, you get through, you graduate, and then you go on to college down at UK, correct?
Yeah, and I think it's important for where we're going with the story we talk about my senior year, because my senior year at Newport Catholic, and that talks about where I'm going to go to college. Like I looked at Purdue. This is when I thought I was going to go into engineering. I looked at Purdue, and we went up there. That's a cool place. But Rose-Hulman, Louisville, and we toured University of Kentucky, and again, legacy. My family bleeds blue, but I ended up going there because I get a full ride. The other places would have been a lot of money. But it was my senior year. Going back to my sophomore, junior year. My first drink was right around the age I'd turned 16. And by the time I was a senior in high school, that had blown into a full drinking multiple times a week at the age of 17 and 18, including some weekday drinking, including some daytime weekday drinking during the school year. And then my parents separated in November of, that would have been 2006. And they were divorced November of 2007. By that time, I was a freshman at the University of Kentucky. My drinking had, at that point, blossomed to, it was problematic. In January of 2007, received my first public intoxication citation. I would receive several more in college, drunk and what you would label drunken disorderly or underage drinking, and I would receive a few of those.
Let me stop you there if you don't mind. Being a lawyer, I'm in court a lot, and I see a lot of these defendants up there and give their side of the story, and sometimes remorseful, sometimes not. You being a repeat, quote, offender of the PI offense, what were some of the judge's reactions, and did the sentence, I should say, were the fines, did they continue to get worse, or what were they saying? I mean, they saw a pattern.
It depended on who you got. No, it was on who you got. I think I went in front of, when I was a minor, I think I went in front of Judge Popovich twice, went in front of a Lexington judge once, and went in front of Judge Thomas once. The judge in Lexington, I was just a number. It would turn him and burn him. Judge Popovich was very understanding and worked the program with Judge Popovich, the diversion program, and that was it. Judge Thomas was the one that was just, and I see her now that I'm in law school and I'm involved in the community. I see her now and I joke with her, and she's the nicest lady outside the courtroom as could be, but she was so mean, so mean. I mean, that was the harshest experience. And
she didn't mess around. I mean, absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful lady, outstanding judge. And it was almost so much that on the bench, she just smiled and she just threw the hammer down. And, I think it taught people lessons, hopefully, most of the time. Sometimes it didn't work, but you absolutely hit that on the head because she was a stickler.
Yeah, Popovich tried to reason with you, trying about why you were doing what you did. No, Judge Thomas just wanted to scare the crap out of you so you didn't do it again. And I get both, and both are lovely individuals in the real world.
Yeah.
University of Kentucky. I can't tell you to this day how I graduated summa cum laude, but I graduated summa cum laude, and I ran for student government. I coached high school basketball, and I was drunk all the time. I did a lot of things, and I achieved a lot of success, and I usually not before 9 a.m, but I was boogied up all the time, and that's one of the things that I think that feeds into that when you drink, and I think it's important that if I haven't said it, I'll say it now. I'm an alcoholic, and I think that when you're an alcoholic, you don't need outside influences to make you drink. That's what you are. But when you can point to excuses, it helps insulate yourself. And when you're a kid in college, fine. Society says, no, go get blitzed, go pass out. It's fine. You're a college kid. Go do that. So there weren't a whole lot of people pounding on the door saying, hey, that's unusual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now that would come when you leave college, because then you leave college and people are like, you need to straighten up and fly right. And then the people started pounding on the door saying, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I got a job, and it was they have all these fancy terms for it now, but count resolution specialist. But I was a debt collector for a creditors' rights law firm. And that's where I started working for my first firm out of college. And eventually I lived at home for a little bit and then moved out and lived in the house with a bunch of buddies who also loved to party. And that was close to the beginning of the end. So I've graduated from the UK. I'm working for Weltman, living in technically Fort Thomas, right near the Southgate, Kentucky border, right there on US 27. And I am just, at this point, I'm aware that my drinking is problematic.
Now, let me ask you this. Were any of your friends around you aware, or did they, in your opinion, have the same type of issues, or was it just you on your own here?
No one wants to admit that when they're drinking heavily, that you're drinking heavily too. But what I did point out is that when I got drunk, I did not care. I was belligerent. I made scenes. I was not fun to be around, and that was pointed out to me. So I knew that I was problematic. I was not a pleasant person to be around because I was obnoxious. I did stupid stuff. I would annoy the whatever you want to call it out of people.
It's funny, but it's not, in that I didn't know you back then, and I can't even imagine you being that way. So this is great. I'm glad to hear this. So keep going.
Yeah, it's and I had lost a lot of friendships towards the end. Some of these are easy to tell, some of these aren't as easy to tell. But one of them is that I had these friends in college. My college roommate, really close friends I made in college, and he was from up here. We met in high school. He went to another high school, and I had these two buddies. They went to the same high school, and we went to college together and roomed with one. And fast forward to in the middle of college, UK was playing. It was Billy Gillespie's last year of coaching UK basketball, and they were in the NIT and playing Notre Dame on St. Patrick's Day. Well, those are a lot of reasons to get really, really drunk.
It's a recipe for disaster.
And more than that, I got really, really, really drunk, and I ended up in his basement at his parents' house, and I was laying on behind the couch, on a couch I don't know, and everyone was watching the basketball game, and I stumbled up to use the restroom and use the bathroom, and wasn't until probably 30 seconds in that people started rushing to me because I wasn't in the bathroom. I was on the stairs and all over their basement stairs. And that ended a friendship. I mean, sure. I don't blame them. I mean, I whipped it out and started urinating everywhere in the basement in front of everybody. And that was it. That was the end of that. And that was a life changer. And that was probably one of the biggest social consequences. And I've surrounded myself at that period of time with people that like to drink a lot and like to not stop. And this is staying up until 6, 7 in the morning, just trying to push the night on as long as possible. It was the December 23rd going into the morning of the 24th, 2012, that I had been party hopping, bar hopping, and had friends going back out to one of their houses in Alexandria, got pulled over by the Campbell County Police Department, and I was arrested and charged with driving under the influence. I would not drink for a little bit, for a few weeks after, and then I started drinking again. We'd kicked it out that I was going to plea out in March, and so during that period of time, I slipped back and I tried to stop myself and drink less and drink less. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start drinking, but it's only going to be drinking beer. All right, I'm only going to drink 6. All right, I'm only going to drink 12. All right, I'm going to drink liquor, but it's only going to be clear liquor. All right, and then I was back to where I was before everything, and that was just a devastating slip. The last time I drank in Kentucky, in March of 2013, I was down in Lexington. Like I said, I coached high school basketball. I had lost that at that point. I was no longer coaching because no one could employ me. We're down there for the Sweet 16. I never made a Sweet 16 game because I just got drunk the whole time. And I was at a Sunday morning of the state championship game. It was at noon or 2, and drinking in the morning. And that just led to drinking until I blacked out and hit my head on the sidewalk outside the bars there near campus, and was taken to the hospital. And my mom had to come down and get me out of the hospital, and that was the last time I drank in Kentucky. I had a destination wedding for a friend 2 weeks later in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I would drink there, and that would be it. I drove back, surrendered my driver's license pursuant to my guilty plea of my DUI in March, and I realized that if I continued to drink without that thin veneer of protection of what was driving to hold me back, that I would die. And so I just stopped, not out of any confession of being an alcoholic or having a problem. It was just the realization that if I did not stop at that particular moment, I was going to die. That allowed me the time to come to terms with my sobriety, that About 2 or 3 months in, I would admit that I was an alcoholic and that I could not safely consume alcohol. That first year, and people will tell you this that are in the rooms and in programs and go through recovery, that first year is a beast. It's an animal. It is very, very, very difficult and a complete change of your lifestyle. Once you get through that first year, you can start to claim back some semblance of normalcy. And it's never the same. You'd never get back what it was that you lost. But fortunately, you can get more. It's just different. But that's where we brings us to the 2013, 2014.
So after going through that, you clearly needed to change your, I guess, atmosphere to move forward in a different way of life. How about your friendships, your circle of, friends that you would hang out with? Did some of them still stay around you? Did you just completely disassociate yourself, or how did that shake out going forward with your friends that you were previously hanging out with?
It's very, I'm not going to lie, that first year is also very fuzzy. I had a group of, I'll tell you, the group of my like Highlands friends, Highlands graduates. I know that a lot of those folks I did not continue to hang out with afterwards. I used to go up to a bar called the Pub all the time. That stopped. I had friends from college. Some of them, they stuck with me. They had a hard time assigning that label of alcoholic to me. But again, you're in your early 20s and you like to drink, and that's going to be hard to wrestle with that label.
How would you go out with the friends that you were at college with who continued to drink? I mean, how did you hang out with them and not drink while they were drinking and continuing the same lifestyle that you led previously?
I mean, it wasn't the same. I mean, the first year for sure, too, I had to define it. It had to be me. I had to have the freedom to leave. I had to be in control of that. I could not. Now, I mean, so I still wouldn't be. I mean, I still wouldn't be super comfortable here at age 37 that if we're all going to get on a party bus and I don't have the ability to just leave whenever I want, I wouldn't like that. That wouldn't be and now that's not going to cause me to drink or anything, but it's just, is it going to be enjoyable? That's the question.
So would you leave parties that you were at just because you were afraid that you might fall?
No, there was never a time that I will be clear about. There was never a time that I thought, oh my God, I'm going to drink. It's always been about my enjoyability and comfort. I wouldn't put myself in a situation where I thought that, oh my God, this could make me drink. And there have been times I've skipped things because of that, but it's not, there's this thing, and it's a weird thing about alcoholism. It's not, there is no way I would lose if the game was, I have to say no to drinking every time the opportunity comes up. I would lose because that's impossible, right? How many times you get the opportunity to drink, and if you're treating it as all of these are opportunities to drink, eventually you're going to lose. So it's not that I am choosing not to drink every time the opportunity comes up. It's that I cannot drink. It is the same as if I were allergic to peanut butter. It's not that I'm choosing not to consume peanut butter, is that I can't. That's not an option. Because again, if it was just a question of making that choice over and over and over and over and over and saying, oh my God, I'm going to this bar, am I going to drink or not? That's not the question. There is no question. It's that I'm going to this place and I'm not going to drink. Am I going to enjoy myself?
During that first year, were there friends or family specifically that you leaned on emotionally to help you get through the times?
Oh, my brother and my sister are incredible. My mom's incredible. My dad and my brother are sober now. My dad was a struggle when I was getting sober because he was not sober. He is sober now, and it is wonderful, and it's wonderful the relationship we have. He was definitely a lot of the mindset that I was at times. So it was hard. That was hard, and that's his story, not mine. But that was difficult. But it is what it is. I walked a lot. I went to church a lot. I did what I needed to, and like I said, it's a weird existence.
Did it get easier every day, every week, every month, or were there ups and downs during that first year?
It's that first year. I mean, I'm telling you, man, that first year is hard. And it got easier after that first year. It did. And now it's just my life, and I have to be cognizant of it, and I have to remember that I'm in recovery and I can't let it slip. But it's not as intense as that first year. It's gotten easier after that first year. But that's the other thing you look at in this life. We have these tragedies that will befall us. I love when you do go to the rooms and hear stories, and a divorce happens or a death happens or an accident happens, you lose your job. Your sobriety can't take a break. It just would make things 8,000 times worse. So you have to just live with the fact that this is your reality, and that's what you do.
Yeah. Did you go to meetings? Did you join any groups?
I have. I've been to meetings. I'm not a regular participant in any anonymous organizations anymore, but I've been. If I wanted to, I'd go again because it's helpful, and it's helpful that some folks do lean on it forever and ever. But I have definitely been a part of some groups and gone to meetings, and it's whatever you have to do to maintain it.
So it works for some and maybe not for others, in your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there is rigidity. Some people need extreme rigidity. Some people do not. Some people seek it in the church. Some people do not. Some people seek it in large groups. Some people seek it in small groups. It's whatever works for the individual.
Yeah. You think talking to others that have gone through it is beneficial?
Yeah, absolutely. As a kid, as a young person, I looked at, and we can get into this segment soon, but when I started working on political campaigns, someone introduced me to a deputy sheriff somewhere and said, "Hey, and he's a recovering alcoholic." And he's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You are?" And then now we'll find out, and this person, and this person, and this person. And it's like, these are real living people that I know. And that's the thing you'll never get over once you seek recovery, is how many people have gone through it that you would never know. How many people are secretly in recovery and gone through the same journey. And there's more of us than anyone would ever be able to count. And that is and it is a language that only we can speak. And when you click like that, when you hear someone's stories like that, I know what you're talking about. That's a magical moment. It is.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that these days society almost implies that it's acceptable for kids to do this. I'm not going to lie. I did it as a kid. But, drugs, marijuana use, stuff like that wasn't as popular or accepted when I was in high school. I graduated much earlier than you in 91. But now it's like alcohol is just a given. I mean, I hate to say it, but friends of mine would condone parties with alcohol during high school. I was one that absolutely did not because I'm a lawyer, because it's illegal. And, my kids would get frustrated with me because nobody wanted to come over to our house because they knew they couldn't drink at the Grimmies. And I'm like, well, okay, what's wrong with that? And it's just a shame because of what society has become. And, it's got to be even harder for these kids today because it's maybe not even pressure, but it's a way of life. It's what kids do. And it's a shame.
Well, and you're missing one of the dangers that grows each year is that, thank goodness that, because Facebook came out when I was at the end of high school and beginning of college. Thank goodness it didn't follow me around everywhere, because there have been, I know that there have been pictures that have appeared on Facebook of me blacked out. Those are long gone because that's just the way the time works. It is harder to make a mistake and recover from it now more so than ever.
Absolutely. Being
allowed to own up to your mistakes and make them right. It's the only way you're ever going to move forward. And we're harder. It is weird how we treat mistakes like that. Sometimes they're unforgivable and we cancel people, or we move them into one column and say people over here can love this person and people over here can't. And it's just weird how we treat mistakes.
So you're 12 plus years sober. Is that right?
Yep.
What are some of the things that you have done in your daily routine that have helped you stay sober for some of those people out there that may have been struggling in the past or struggling now, that might encourage them to turn the corner?
If I need help, I seek it. As number one, I'm never above help ever. If you need help, you seek it. Two, and this is easier said than done when you have a full-time job and law school and 7 kids, but If you need the time, you take it. I guess that's why I need to differentiate. That doesn't mean that you carve out that time because you may not have that luxury, but you take the moment. If you need the moment, you take the moment and you recalibrate and you tackle whatever it is that may be giving you trouble. But having grace for yourself and others is, you're not going to succeed in this if you're angry at yourself and others all the time. It's just not going to happen. You have to give yourself grace and you have to give others grace, because this situation is so, we're never going to truly understand it. One, it's different for everyone. Two, it's just this monolithic beast that has plagued people for as long as time has existed, and we're not ever going to fully grasp what that means. And give people grace, give yourself grace, and give others grace.
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody, but you've already mentioned a few things. What are some of the signs, in your opinion, for those that are listening that might be concerned that they have a problem? What are some of the signs that you saw that you might say, watch out, because these are warning signals that you may have a drinking problem?
Sometimes it's hard to nail down because you don't want to admit that you do. But for me, that last time I got drunk in Kentucky, that I realized that I could no longer control whether I was going to take a drink or not. How could I have caught it before then? I mean, it's negative consequences. I was racking up negative consequences and I didn't care. That should have been a warning sign that it's like, you have this happen and you just disregard it and you keep drinking. That's a huge red flag. We might be a podcast in itself talking about day drinking, like the social acceptability of day drinking and vacation day drinking and starting the morning out for a football game with a beer at 9 a.m. Is that a problem or isn't it? Like,
right.
in a vacuum, we could probably say that that's a problem, but you and I both know, well, and hell, I may be tardying you right now. If Michigan plays at noon and
No
you're
comment.
there, you may drink a beer at 9 a.m.
Plead
And
the
is
fifth.
that right or not? I don't know.
Right.
You have to answer that for yourself.
Right.
But so then identifying, is that a question we should at least ask? That if I'm going to have a beer at 9 a.m., do you say, is this something I'm just doing once this year because Michigan plays at noon? Or am I having a beer every time UK plays basketball and start at 9 a.m. and finish at 9 p.m.? And that's what I was doing. And having those questions with yourself, that's healthy.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse too long because I want to get into the things that you have done since then. But one last question, I guess I'm curious if you know the answer. Is there anything that you can point towards that made you decide that it was cold turkey? You're stopping. You're never drinking again.
Yes. Yeah. That was, I thought I was going to die. It wasn't a question of weaning off. It wasn't a question of I have a problem, I need to stop and wean off of this. It's that if I don't stop drinking when I don't have this driver's license, I'm not going to survive. It was really a question of life or death. And it was not a question of trying to better anything or trying to correct anything. It was, if I keep doing this behavior, that's it.
Moto Federation is a DIY communal workspace and social lounge. We provide the tools, facility, and supplies for you to work on your own motorcycle. Beyond the workshop, we have a social lounge where members can meet to exchange ideas, share knowledge, attend workshops, and view product demonstrations. We are a rider's facility dedicated to learning, teaching, and repairing and restoring motorcycles. We embrace all forms of motorcycling, from scooters to trikes and everything in between. Learn more at motofed.com.
Well, you've been through a lot. You've turned the corner, and we first met in 2016. And I'll tell the story briefly. I'm at the St. Therese Festival with my wife, and I'm sure some other friends, having a good time. And I'm in the middle, or maybe the beginning of my campaign. I guess it was kind of in the middle because I think it's summertime.
You had just done Memorial Day, and you were at the St. Thomas Festival, so you're in the middle of summer church festival season.
And so you walk up to me, introduce yourself, and as I'm meeting so many new people during that time, and you just start peppering me with questions, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?" I'm running for district judge in Campbell County. Do I love that I have to go through an election to get that position? No, not really, but it is what it is. And so you're just asking me this, that, and the other, and I'm thinking, let's just meet each other, say hello, and move on. But no, you are absolutely into it, interested, and you were basically interviewing me, trying to decide which candidate of the five of us that you were going to support. Here we are today, and I have to say you're one of my best friends, and I can't say that anyone supported me more, but that day changed our
Yes.
lives
Yes.
forever, honestly, because we've been through a lot since then. And it was 9 years ago, but I'm sure you remember that night. But did you have any intentions of meeting other candidates that night, or did you just see me and say, "Hey, this is my time"?
Yeah, man. It was just a festival, and I love this stuff, and I love talking to folks.
I
And
wasn't targeted
no, I just talked to him. We knew each other from,
from past a little bit, yeah.
but we were just talking, and
I
you
won
as
you
a
over.
person.
I answered the questions right, I
Well, you
guess.
as a person, because it was you as a person. Because, like you said, there was 5 field, and there are 2 other people in that field that I now consider friends. And the person that ended up winning that, I think you and I agree, is one of the best jurists in Northern Kentucky. But it was you as a person, and I'm not sad that things happened the way that they did. I think it worked out for everyone great. But what won me over to you was you as a person, and a lot of it, both you and the person that would go on to win were very big on treating people as human beings. That included recovery and those crimes related to drug use. And that was important to me. It is important to me. And you treating people as people, that was it, man. I'd go to the paint for you again.
Well, I appreciate that. I have to make it public, and I'm sure a lot of people already know this. You absolutely put in more time than anyone during that campaign, and I really appreciate it. I've said it many times. You put in more time on the streets than I did, and I've never seen anyone knock on so many doors and support someone the way that you did. Again, it didn't turn out with a victory, but everything happens for a reason, and I'll say this publicly. I'm glad I lost because I'm much happier where I am today as master commissioner and with my private practice. And you're right. Cameron Blau is an outstanding judge, one of my better friends as well, and he couldn't have won with more grace. Abby Volker is now a family court judge in Campbell County, outstanding judge as well. I think everybody's where they need to be, and I think it's worked out for the best. And we have an outstanding panel of judges in Campbell County, and I love practicing in front of each of them. We meet. We had some good times. It might be an episode.
Yeah, that's a podcast. That campaign is a podcast all in itself. Back then, I mean, and just the way things have gone, and there's this horrible mingling of national and local government and politics, and it's really made things regrettably connected that way. Back then, that wasn't like that. There was a ton of people running for a ton of seats, and it wasn't always this politically charged thing like I'm a Republican, you're a Democrat. Grr.
Right.
And that's the way it is now, unfortunately, in a lot of ways. Back then, you had a lot of people who just were themselves, running under whatever banner they happened to be under, but running for the job. And we had just so many candidates, and that's what made it fun, is you'd run into all these people. And we went to Demolition Derby. We went to a bluegrass festival. The same day.
My son Adam caught a chicken at the Alexandria Fair.
I mean, we lived at that fair.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was
great.
quite the experience. And we live in a county that is weird, with an urban, suburban, and rural area, and we touched every part of that we could. And that was the most. There were 2 campaigns that I've worked on the most, and that's yours. And there was a guy by the name of Mark Ramler ran for county commissioner. Probably put in more work with you. That was just fun. It was like being part of your family for that part, and that was a great time.
Yep, you were. You're absolutely my 4th son, and I appreciate that.
We passed that off a few times. Hey, there's Joe Grimme, and the oldest boy. Oh, the 2016. That was a heck of a time, and
it was. It was fun.
And we get into 2018, and you've talked publicly. So 2018 rolls around. At the time, I'm a registered Republican. I'm going to run for county commissioner. Now I make the plunge and I run for county commissioner in a 4-way race. And with some characters, man, you got current still sitting Brian Painter, Dave Fisher. Dave's going to run against Brian again this year for the 3rd time. And it was me and the legendary Lloyd Rogers. And I was a Republican at the time. I'm a Democrat now. And just again, like I said, an independent thinker all the way around. Then that was a wild primary. I finished last of that. And I get that because at this point, we're starting to move towards where even local races are more politically charged. And in a primary, a lot of the times, the person that is the most of whatever that party is wins the primary. And I was the least Republican of the Republicans. Let's see, 2018, that's also, I met my now wife. We buy a house together, and I was living in Southgate, buy a house together in Southgate. I'd end up, during COVID, would become a Southgate City Council person. We get engaged, and then time rolls up to our wedding. Can you recall who officiated my wedding? Do you remember?
I believe it was yours truly, and I was honored to do so. It was on my wife's birthday, and it was a great present for her, and we enjoyed it thoroughly, had a great time down there.
October 10th, 2020 in Harrison County in Cynthiana. Beautiful place, Ashford Acres, the heart of COVID, but we're outside and in the barn. It's beautiful, just a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful people. You and your wife were there. The Weebies came down with you. That was great to have them there.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what a time. That was great. So I would go on, just skipping ahead with it. So I'm on city council, I'm married. We have our second kid, Anderson. We decide we have to find a bigger house. We moved to Cold Spring and in late 2021, early 2022, make that move. I leave city council, and then big things start happening, Joe. But what happens next? We started fostering. We decide to become foster parents. We have, at the time, my stepdaughter. She'll eventually become my daughter. And then we have Anderson, and then we start fostering. We have one for a long time. And then we have our second biological son, Sullivan. We have him in April of 23.
So you're at 4 at that point.
We're at 4. And then we take another placement, take us to 5, because the first placement, he's phasing out. He's going to go through that process and not be with us anymore. And then we end up getting to 6 when it's all said and done as we get into the fall. And then we keep going forth. And then that one gets reunified. We're back to 5. And then another gets reunified. We're back to 4. And then, of course, we do the logical thing. We take a sibling group of 3, and we're all the way up to 7. And then they move on, and we're back to, and we take another placement, and so on and so forth. We have fostered 13 kids. During the course of that time, I've adopted my daughter, who was my stepdaughter. We have adopted one of our foster kiddos, and we still have placements now. So like I said, we have 7 total kids in our home, and we've had 13 total placements to the state of Kentucky. It has been, recovery is always going to be the best thing I've gone through, because I had to do it. However, the best thing that I've ever done, my wife and I have been blessed to do this journey and make our impact on these kids and these families. The goal is always to reunify, and we've done that. Sometimes that's not always possible, but we've played our part in getting kids back to their parents, and that's the ultimate goal. And sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes adoption's the goal, and we've gone through that too. So that's a wonderful experience. And through all of that, yes, I come to work for a new law firm. It's a family law firm. We do all those aspects, including adoption, uncontested adoption, contested adoption, all the stuff that goes into that. That fires me up, that this kind of law, I'm good at that. I'm living it. Let's go to law school, because of course, why not? And I had thought about law school before, but my friend Joe Grimme told me that, Tyler, this market is oversaturated. And he's right, but not a lot of people like to do family law.
No, they don't.
And if that's something that you're willing to do, there's an avenue for you out there. And I said, let's go ahead and do it. And here we are. I'm about halfway through law school, going to Chase at Northern Kentucky University at the night program. We've got 7 kids in our home. I'm now on the school board for Campbell County, and I'm approaching year 13 of sobriety.
That's a lot. Let's rewind. First of all, I want to give a plug for Renee Heinrich, and that's who you work for. She is an absolutely wonderful person and an even better attorney. Family law, adoptions, no one better in that realm. And your office just does a great job. So kudos to you and her and everyone inside your office. But I have 3 boys. And I will admit my wife did the bulk of raising them while I went to work every day, and she was lucky enough to stay home. And, I at times would look at the 3 of those boys and the frustration in my mind and say, why are we doing this? And, it's too late once you have them, but you made a choice to go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 7. I mean, do you have that thought sometimes, or is it always rainbows and unicorns?
Oh, it's not rainbows and unicorns. And especially all these kids, every kid that goes through foster care has trauma. And and there's stuff that goes into that. And I'm a better person now than I was when we started. And you learn a lot and you learn how to deal with it. You have placements every placement's different, and every placement has its difficulties. But the kids, and you do what you do to try and make their life better. And that can take, like I said, a lot of different forms. And we said, my wife and I laugh now that we've definitely said yes to things that were ridiculous, but happy mistakes. If we're going to try and help people, as we're going to do what we can.
Yeah. Well, I knew this shortly after I met you. You're a better person than I am. I could not do it. Well, you're a great person. So is your wife, and admire what you've done and what you continue to do, because it can't be easy. Like you said, these kids come from so many different backgrounds, and it's amazing to see what you've done and what others do in the same situation in fostering and adopting and all that jazz. If there's anyone out there listening who has interest and didn't know much about it, what would you suggest, or where could they go to find out more to potentially be foster parents?
So we go through the state, and there are a lot of agencies out there. They offer different things, but we're state foster parents, and that's where I encourage folks to start. And that's just going through the Cabinet for Health and Family Services through Kentucky. And there's workers designated for help people become trained and registered certified foster parents, and then stick with them. So those people there exist to hold hands. So you start engage with that process with the Cabinet, and they'll take you through it. And again, there are agencies. There's DCCH, the Diocesan Children's Home. There's NECO. That's where my dad actually and his now wife are foster parents through NECO. And there are different agencies that exist. Oh yeah, that's also let's not. There's part of it for us that my starting with my maternal grandma and then with my aunt, and we call it the Osberg family tradition of taking in kids that need to be taken in. And my grandparents did that, and my aunt did that, and so now my wife and I try to do that as well, and that carry on the family tradition that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cabinet is where we go through, and that's where I recommend folks start.
Okay. Well, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If anyone out there listening wants to talk or bounce ideas off you or find out more about your journey, regardless of what experience that they want to hear more about, would you welcome them to reach out to you?
Oh yeah, and I have an email for that purpose, tylerowenky@gmail.com. If anyone has any questions about foster care, any questions about recovery, any questions about getting involved locally with anything, that's what we're here for. So I've got different emails for different things, but that's one you can reach me at. And I welcome anyone at any time.
Well, that's great. We've got some time left. Why not do a little baseball talk?
Yes.
How about the Reds? All right. So you and I are absolutely in tune with the current state of this roster and the, I guess, ownership philosophy. I don't think either of us expected us to get Schwarber, and that's fine. Would I have loved him? Absolutely. But here's my main frustration. And, I'm tempted to do an entire episode on this, but, they said publicly, hey, we offered 125 Schwarber because we know he would sell tickets. Well, you know what? Winning games sells tickets. And
Yes.
if you're not going to spend 125 on him, let's spend it elsewhere if you've got it, and check, maybe you check a few other boxes.
That's the operative phrase you just used. They were trying to check the box of, we're trying to do this, and we tried to do this to sell tickets, and it didn't work, so we're done. That's not how you construct a roster. You construct a roster by filling needed holes, and not by just saying, oh, this is what's going to produce ticket sales. It's what's going to produce runs or restrict errors or lower ERA or lower opposing team's base runners. That's how you construct a lineup. And you tell me it doesn't feel like that's what they're doing right now.
No, and I'm anxious to see what they do. I've said it, and I'll say it again. I think Nick Krall did a decent job last year with what he was given to spend. And I think did he make all the right moves? No, but who can? I mean, you don't know what these guys are going to do on the field. I think he added a little above average ball players to add to the roster, and they made the playoffs. Did they back into them? Yes, because of the Mets meltdown. But the bottom line is there was more. Yeah, they were there. There was more excitement. He did, I think, a good enough job last season. People are screaming and crying right now, but I'm like, hey, calm down. We still have time.
And it's still there. I mean, it's still there,
Yeah,
right? Like, and injuries played such a large part in the past couple of years.
Yes.
I mean, you give a healthy Hunter Green for the last 2 years, and who knows? The McLean post-injury gamble. So I think that was, if I had to look at anything that was the biggest win for Carl last year and the biggest loss, the biggest win was the India trade. I know that people probably think that's unpopular because he was beloved here, but getting Singer for India, seeing what India produced in Kansas City and what Singer did for our lineup, especially given the injuries, was huge.
Yeah, great move.
The worst move was, what are we doing riding McLean all year long? I mean, great player pre-injury, and then you let that spot sit with him all year is just unacceptable.
I am a huge McLean supporter, but at some point during the season, I absolutely wanted to see him get sent down to AAA. I don't care if it means just to give him a little gut check to say, hey, you're not our everyday second baseman if you're not going to perform. And he didn't perform, but yet he was their everyday second baseman. And they sent other people down, CES, Will Benson, those guys went down. Did Benson get righted? No, maybe. He came back up, didn't have a lot of opportunities back on the field. But the bottom line is sometimes, and I don't think McLean seems like a big ego guy, but maybe deep down inside, he just assumes he's going to be in the lineup every day because he was. And I love him.
How can you know what's going to produce or not if you don't try? And that's, to me, the problem is not that it's not even that they ended up with McLean and it's that they didn't try any other options. I mean, look at third base and what we developed there. We ended up toying around with Novelli and Marte at different positions. That's what you're supposed to do. You chose him for that hole and you filled it and you worked around it and you constructed your roster around it. And some of this is Krall stuff, some of this is Francona stuff, but you never did that with second base. And the question is why?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I hope he gets back on the right track like he was in 23 before his injury. We'll see. I'm excited to see Sal Stewart. I guess, maybe first base is his to lose. I don't know. But the bottom line is I think they need a big bat. I would love to see a big bat at first base and then find another place for Sal.
Or DH. I mean, you got this.
Yeah.
So what's it look like right now for you then? If Sal Stewart's at first, where's Steer?
I think he's somewhat of a platoon guy. I mean, he played a nice first base. I don't love him there, but, he's not a guy that I'm.
You can play him at multiple positions. He can play in the outfield.
Yeah,
he can play at third. He can play at first. He can DH.
While Brian Hayes is not a bat threat at the plate, he's a Gold Glover at third base. And
you're right, and you're going to have to keep him there.
Yeah.
So Hayes at third, Marte in right. We obviously got
Friedel in center. McLean, I guess, is your second baseman, but he's got to produce at the plate.
Who's then, that leaves you left?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Steer, maybe Lux. I don't love the platoon situation that is apparent in the major leagues these days. And I understand sabermetrics, splits, this, that, and the other. But anything you do in life, you can't be good at it if you don't do it, in my opinion, every day. And these guys are playing against righties or they're not playing against righties and vice versa. And I think that's where they fail. Sure, you've got the Ellies and the Judges and the Mike Trouts and everybody that plays every single day. But the better than average guys that they maybe not hitting left-handers very well, they don't play every day. And it's hard to get in a routine when you're only playing 3 days a week.
We see that too. We've seen it like you said, it's across the majors. We've seen it the most for the Reds forever at catcher. Tell me the last time that we've had a guy that's played the bat over 100 games at the catcher position.
Sure.
And I know that's the most common to platoon, but we've now seen that post Votto. We haven't had a dominant first baseman. Steer's probably come the closest, right?
Mm-hmm.
We settling into that, like you said, I think that we're going to move past the platoon system at third. Hayes will be your everyday third baseman. You've obviously got an everyday shortstop. Can we get to everyday catcher first, second, and have some stability in the outfield with a big bat?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see him spend some money on something. I don't know that they will. They'll probably do the same thing they did last year, bring in a few guys. And
we didn't even talk about the rotation either.
I think that's solid. I mean, I said it last year, and in my opinion, I was spot on. They had the best pitching staff, top to bottom, in the NL Central, and I think they do again. I think the rotation's solid. I'm glad they have Pagan back, and the bullpen hopefully will be good enough. Pitching and defense wins championships. Let's hope that's the case with us.
Yeah, because you're not looking at a lot of offense right now.
No, we're not.
I don't think you can expect it to be different. I think you got the Reds' success will come down to health and consistency for the pitching staff. You still have, like you said, a few holes to fill for the bullpen. And your infield they may be ready to go with their infield. And it's a heck of a defensive infield. What are you going to do with that outfield? Because you've got Marte and Friedel. It comes down to, are we going to have a producer in left?
Yeah, and maybe that's your spot where you continue to platoon 2-3 guys, and then
the difference to me is you're really, really relying on your pitching staff and your defense to keep runs down. If you're just saying we're going to platoon left, that if we're going to get a big bat and put them at DH or left, that's the difference between this team being a flirtatious team with the playoffs or a true World Series contender. Are you going to have an everyday solid left fielder or dominant MVP type candidate? And the options there for the postseason, they're quickly slipping by us, and I think we know what the answer is going to be. But to me, that's the whole.
If they were to get a big bat to plug in the outfield or at DH, I think they have a really good shot at making a push in the playoffs.
I think they already have a push for the playoffs if the right things go. I get what you're saying. If the right things happen and people stay healthy and this person does well, et cetera, they still have a chance. But you're right. That is the holdback from just categorically this being a playoff contender.
I agree. Well, maybe closer to the season when we will have signed a few guys to talk about, we can get back together and do a preseason preview. Well, Tyler, it's been an honor. It's been enjoyable, and it's been informative because I learned some more things about you today that I didn't know. And your friendship means a lot to me, and I know it will continue to get stronger as we get older. I wish you many, many years of success in your career. I'm anxious to have you as a fellow lawyer in the bar, and you will do outstanding things as an attorney. And kudos to you and your wife for what you've done with your children and your foster children and those that you've adopted, and just your lifelong journey of coming through some seriously hard times and learning from them and being able to help others. You're an inspiration for others, and I think everybody who listens to this is going to agree with me.
Those are nice things, Joseph. Thank you. You are a very dear friend, and I'm glad that we have our friendship. And now, we've talked about many times, you are what you do with adversity, and that's in life, that's in baseball, that's in anything. You are what you do with adversity, and I'm very fortunate that I've come out where I've come out, and I couldn't do that without my amazing wife and kids and my family and all my friends and the community that we love so much. So, and that's what we'll continue to do, is try to make this community the best darn place that it can be, and we'll stick at it.
Absolutely. Well, enjoy the holiday season, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, Joseph.